What's up, everybody, and welcome to the episode number 1 of Why Am I a Nerd presents 4th and 1, where each and every week we get together to talk all and everything sports. My name is Sean Farrell, and sitting opposite of me is the golden voice of podcasting, Matt Ferrer. Today we'll be chatting about some of our favorite teams and the return of the NBA.
Which, first of all, let me start with a thank God, which I'm sure is shared universally. It's been 3 months without anything happening. It's about time we're back to action here.
Yeah, I was going to say, to start a sports podcast, we probably picked the best time, right? I mean,
Yeah,
no
seriously.
sports. Have you been watching any Korean baseball?
I have not. I've not even entertained the idea of it. I'm not going to learn the players. I'm ready for
It's
my
all about the
classic teams to
dinos.
get back. Exactly, the dinos.
So I guess, as an introduction, we can kind of go in and just talk about who we root for,
Yeah,
what makes our sports clock tick.
Makes sense.
And what do you want to start with first? What's your most passionate team?
I
that
mean,
you
maybe
have?
I was going to say my most passionate team is always, as I'm wearing the shirt and the hat right now, is
maybe
the New York Football Giants.
So we agree with that. So maybe we
Yeah.
save the best for last.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of think we should work our way back. Maybe we start with college football,
All right.
where we have one of the more classic rivalries of all time here.
Yeah. So were you a college football fan, like just growing up, or was it something you?
Not until I went to college. I went to school out of state. I knew I needed to go to school outside of New Jersey. My mom went to school in Michigan, so I in turn, I checked it out when I was younger. I was like, yo, I love this school. It's great out here. I did not go to the University of Michigan, but I probably should have. But that is a team I root for. I went to Eastern Michigan. I hate to say it, but right now we're not great. We did have a couple draft picks that have been playing well in the NFL, but as far as actual NCAA experience, we're not doing awesome. But the Michigan Wolverines have been my team since I, got an interest in football.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't really gifted a good team here early on in New Jersey. I mean, Rutgers was just
Rutgers. And
brutal
they
to
have
watch.
no business in the Big Ten.
And that's kind of why I started watching Notre Dame. And I mean, I have family that roots for them, but when I went to school at Coastal Carolina.
Oh, very
so I'm in
nice.
the South, and college football is God there.
Yeah.
And you just learn to appreciate it more. So when I went down there, I was like, all right, let me get into this a little more. And I started really getting into it as far as following recruiting. And
Yeah.
the thing I love about college football is every game matters.
Oh yeah, it's great. Every game these guys are playing their asses off. And it's funny you should mention that you got into Notre Dame because you had family and friends that were into it. My college roommates who really introduced me to this were like, you're going to like football. These guys were 90% of them were hardcore Notre Dame fans. The 3 of the 4 guys I lived with in the house, it was technically 75%. Not great with math, pardon me. But 3 of those 4 guys were like, no, you're going to love college football. We're all big Notre Dame fans. I was like, kind of leaning Michigan. There's just something about the colors,
How'd
the
that go
tradition. Oh, they didn't love it. They were a little mad at me for a little bit, especially because once I became a fan, we beat them that year. And it's part of my shame and disgrace. I should have gone to the game this year, which I found out was the last time they were playing each other for 15 years. And I planned with a few of my friends, had a work trip that same weekend, so we had to cancel the trip up. And that would have been amazing. Which, we were talking to a mutual friend of the show, Cameron. We were talking about making a trip up there because he's a Notre Dame fan too.
Converted
And going
by
up for it.
myself.
Converted.
So.
Which, I wasn't going to toot your horn too much there, but.
Keep me out of this conversation.
Oh. You can hear us.
Yeah, so I mean, the rivalry is, goes back and close in location too. So, the fans
yeah.
really don't like each other. I'm fortunate enough this year I didn't get to watch the game. I actually went to a party that night, and the guy was a Notre Dame fan. I was like, all right,
So you had the
awesome.
game
I was
on,
like, game's
yeah.
going to be on, ready
Which
to
is
go.
all you can ask for at that point. You
And
can
I
watch
get
it
there,
at
and he's
least.
like, no, we're not watching the game. And he's like, I don't watch the
Wow.
game with anybody else. Because if things go wrong, he's like, I'm going to lose it. So I was like, all right, well, I have to respect his decision.
Yeah.
So luckily I didn't turn the game on. I tried not to check it. I recorded it, and I ended up getting the score leaked to me. So it saved me about 3.5 hours of misery.
Yeah, which can be rough.
Yeah, but Notre Dame for me is really, I live and die on Saturdays with them.
Yeah.
My wife's like, please win, because my weekend's gone. if they end up losing.
Yeah, it'll destroy, and that's something I feel like hardcore sports fans don't realize. Like this, we're not in there. We're not playing ourselves. Sometimes there's not even anything on the line for us, but it will ruin your entire weekend, possibly week. Like I'll never forget, we're both Giants fans. 2010, I believe it was December 19th was the date. I'll never forget this game. I was visiting a friend because I'd just flown back from college. We were in Maryland. The Giants were playing the Eagles, and they had Deshaun. Can I curse on this? Can we?
Yes.
Deshaun ratfuck piece of shit Jackson ruined my entire Christmas by returning that goddamn punt. All he had to do, Matt Dodge, all he had to do was kick it out of bounds. And it's to this day, it's infuriating. You can hear it. You can see it on my face right now.
The only good thing about the quarantine is they're playing Giants classic games, which for the most part they win every single one you watch.
We've got more of the classic games than anybody else, I think, in the history of the league. It's great. But do we have some lows?
That game was week 15 of 2010.
Thank you.
I actually was at I was actually at Draft House watching that game live.
You?
Yeah, and my wife's an Eagles fan, unfortunately.
And you guys stayed together.
Yeah, we're together. We don't watch many games together.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But I was texting her the whole game, and then by the end of it, we just stopped talking for a while.
But, because in the beginning it was looking great for us, and then that team. I would argue the 2010 Giants team was better than the 2011 champion team. Like Justin Tuck was going off, Osi Umenyiora going off. Like these guys, our defense was just complete savages. Eli was having a great year.
The playoff run, it was
just
unbelievable. I guess let's talk about the Giants because we're both Giants fans. That's where we agree on our
exactly.
Our
so
teams
that's the
here.
one team we got in common here.
How are you feeling about him for this season?
Honestly, I'm loving it. I'm a huge Saquon Barkley fan, especially I'm sure we'll get into it again, but as being a Michigan fan, I watched him shred Michigan's #1 ranked defense the year the Giants drafted him. I'm like, I hate this kid today, but so help me God, would I love it if he was a Giant. Thinking there's no chance we draft that high. So there's no chance. So suddenly we're in the second overall pick. I'm like, oh my God, this could happen. We might get Saquon Barkley. And you combine him with Daniel Jones, who I think has a brilliant level of talent, but needs to stop fumbling the ball. I swear to God, just hold it. But that should get supplemented by the fact that we actually have an offensive line now. Will Hernandez is nasty. And then you add the 2 picks we got this year. They said Pete could potentially compete for the left tackle. More power to him. Whoever's the best guy, put him there.
Let's
if it's
load
Pete,
up
if
front.
it's Thomas, whatever it takes at this point, keep that line solid, and we can have a team for years. I'm not as worried about wide receiver, but Slayton looks great. He showed up very hot at the end of last year.
If you look at the Super Bowl teams, the offensive lines were the center of the team.
Exactly.
Giving Eli just enough time to make some plays.
Oh my God, did he make plays? You mentioned it before that now they have all the replays on. When you look at what he did in 42 and 46, that perfect pass to Michigan alumni Mario Manningham. Just beautiful right on the sideline, just sandwiched between 2 defenders.
Hey, we had Notre Dame alumni Justin Tuck, so you gotta.
Hey, listen, I love Justin Tuck. That's still one of my most favorite Giants players all time.
So, for the Giants, were you just parents Giants fans? How did you?
So funny enough, my dad got me a like I said, I wasn't a big football fan growing up. My dad's a Jets fan, but he had a guy at his job that sold jerseys. He got me a Lawrence Taylor jersey one year, and then happened to be the same year. My friend was like, "Hey," and it was a month later. I have an extra spare ticket to a Giants game. Do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. I was like, oh, I can wear my jersey, and fell in love with the sport from there. Yeah, once I finally attended my first live game.
My dad, my uncles were all hardcore Giants fans. My uncle had he's handicapped, but he got these season tickets. So he would once I could drive, he would have me take him to games. And we went to we saw the Patriots go undefeated, which just for sports history is a good.
Oh yeah, it's cool to see.
I went to the last game ever at the old Giants Stadium.
That's awesome.
Which is cool. And they're always the team that they never had that superstar player. They're always just a good. Solid team.
They're scrappy.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're just that team that just you can never completely count them out. And I'm hoping we get back to that now. I think Joe Judge is honestly the pedigree of coach that we needed. He seems to kind of he's young enough that I feel we'll get new ideas, but he also seems refined enough to, not really let the team slip away from him, which I think was something we lacked with both McAdoo and Shermer. So I'm hoping Judge is, the answer when we get some Judgment Day going forward.
McAdoo and Shermer, I mean, they were specialists, offensive specialists.
Yeah.
Like Joe Judge, special teams guy, he's dealing with the guys that are scraping by, working hard to get on the team.
Yeah.
He knows how to run a team. I mean, his press conference was
it was phenomenal.
It was amazing.
Look, if he wore a suit that fit, how about that? Like,
I was ready to go to tryouts, try to suit up.
Yeah, can we suit up? Like, can we do that? The last time I got to go to a Giants off season workout, I actually got my Eli Manning Pro Bowl jersey signed by Eli, which is one of the crowning moments of my life. It's now framed above my bed. And every time I bring a girl home, you got to pay respect, before you.
I used to. I had a Tiki Barber autograph back in the day,
awesome.
and it was right when he was picking up steam as a top running back.
Yeah, right when Coughlin got in there and realized
I
hold
remember
on to the ball.
it was at the Freehold Mall. We were waiting in line, and we got up there. And my dad, he always has a joke to crack. He's like, "Hey, last week," he's like, "What happened? We couldn't hang on to the ball." Because the previous week he had fumbled a couple times, and he just gave him one of these didn't say anything, signed it. He's like, see you later.
Gotta bust chops sometimes.
Yeah, where do your how about the Mets? I'm a Yankees fan. I mean, I'm a Yankees fan, and I'm not a Mets hater. But as a Yankees fan, I find more Yankees fans don't care.
Yeah.
Where I know Mets fans that are they can't stand the Yankees.
I'm gonna say I have nothing against the Yankees. It's actually, I said it earlier today. I will never not respect Derek Jeter. There's some Yankees legends that you have to respect. But as a Mets fan, so help me God, do I wish that Will Palms would sell the team. If we could just get somebody else, I don't care if it's J-Lo and A-Rod, somebody else needs to own this team because it's just so incompetent sometimes. We had one of the best pitching staffs for years. It was just we were lethal, and nothing came of it. We completely blew it in the World Series. So I'm just hoping something changes there soon. I'll ride or die with the Mets, as any true Mets fans would, just that blue and orange all day. But so help me God, would I love for it to pay dividends.
Were you, when you guys had that pitching staff, most teams, you see in the NBA, and, I mean, not so much in the NFL, but, when they have that core of players, teams usually, and the Yankees do this too, where they'll just go out and get those guys, and they fill in those pieces. And, I understand the Mets fans' frustration because I'm also a Knicks fan where they make very poor decisions and they have ownership that no one's really a big fan of.
Yeah, Dolan.
But, that's frustrating. I could see that being super frustrating. And I guess I'm just blessed being a Yankees fan. And I always heard growing up, they buy their players. And, luckily the last couple of years they kind of helped turn that around where they're producing.
Oh yeah, they've been
drafting.
Yeah, great. Aaron Judge, hats off. That was a great pick. I mean, my personal favorite Met is Noah Syndergaard. He's just a savage. And the Thor nickname, you can't go wrong with that guy. But it is tough just watching him worrying every year. Are we going to give him away for absolutely nothing? Maybe we'll get a past his prime hitter for my favorite player in the league right now.
I mean, they're throwing their names at DeGrom and Syndergaard's name out there so much on the trade.
It's DeGrom shouldn't even be a question. He's been so good for so long. It shouldn't even be a question. The guy needs to retire and Met. They need to throw all the money they can at him. Syndergaard, while I would hate it, I could see more of a case for them to say, okay, we're going to deal him. I would still heavily disagree, but if you're going to pick between the two, you've got to keep DeGrom.
Right. I mean, his numbers speak.
It's
ridiculous. I mean, and Syndergaard, he just has the injury concerns too.
Exactly.
He hasn't really had that full season where he hasn't had anything. But if he does, the potential's there.
He did, yeah. The God of Thunder strikes again,
I'm right now for the Yankees. I'm a big Glaber fan, and for the Yankees, that's the one sport that I actually find myself I actually turn it on and watch. Even though there's so many games, it's always on in the background.
Yeah,
you can always have a baseball game on, and
easily.
And with the whole quarantine and everything, I was used to gets warm out, sit in my backyard, turn the game on, have a couple drinks, relax, and I think we're missing that. So.
Yeah, no, and I've got a sneaking suspicion we see that probably sooner than later, probably around July 4th weekend.
Is that a bold prediction?
We can call that a bold prediction. I'll put money on it. You know, the stamp of approval, July 4th weekend. I think we see baseball back.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they can figure out. I know there's a lot of issues with the paying, and then you have huge rosters compared to the NBA and the NHL now, where there's more logistical things you have to figure out, especially with they didn't even start their season which we're going to talk about a little later. The NBA, they're basically done with it, so it's easier to pull off. And I'm just a little worried that it could. How are they going to work out the timeline? Is it going to bleed into next year? Is there going to be a quick turnaround? Are we actually going to see something? Are they going to play?
There's definitely a lot of question marks there that they've got to kind of iron out. I think this is something that's overall as a whole very important for the country, though. I think we need something to focus on because right now it's been stay at home, stay inside, don't go anywhere, and also there's nothing to watch. And it's kind of, it's everyone's just scratching at the walls, just waiting for something to give. So I think sports coming back would be a huge change for that, especially now that bars are getting ready to reopen. We might see that in a couple more weeks too.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to get back to some normalcy here.
Yeah,
and sports is part of that. This is one of the only times I'm not turning on ESPN because
what is there? What do you watch?
There's
bowling?
There's did you end up watching The Last Dance?
I didn't. I definitely should have. It's something that with something like that, I prefer to watch it all at once.
Right.
And I just kind of held off a little bit. I also this might be a bold take here. I also kind of think Jordan released that on purpose at this time to kind of combat LeBron's legacy because everyone's like, oh, who's better, Jordan, LeBron, Jordan, LeBron.
You're out of your fucking mind.
The way I look at it, Jordan is the best overall player. I'm sorry, Jordan is the best overall winner in league history, but LeBron is the best overall player. You can plug LeBron in any position, he's going to dominate, he's going to do the best. But Jordan was so clutch in his time that you almost have to separate the two that way. But I would have loved if there was some way we could see them both prime against each other. Would have been phenomenal. Yeah. But it's to me it's 1A, 1B, and even that's cutting it close.
Yeah, I'm a Kobe guy.
Okay.
But I used to and when LeBron was coming up, they're like LeBron, Jordan. I was like, what about Kobe? Kobe was always that comparison. But I respect LeBron too. Like the guy's he's just on another level. But it's also hard to compare those times. Because the players back then, LeBron's double their size. He's just physically.
Yeah, it's like if LeBron played back then, it wouldn't even be a question. And a lot of people are like, oh, LeBron's soft, he flops. I'm like, I hate to say it, but that's the state of the league now. They're giving that to guys like that. Look, LeBron's like, what, 6'8", 250? I mean, don't quote me exactly on the side. I'm estimating there.
I think that's pretty
accurate. Yeah, I think he might be 260. But either way, he's around there to the point that, like, if he doesn't get the calls, if he doesn't flop, and if he does flop, he does get the calls. And while I don't necessarily always agree with that, that's kind of the state of the league right now. That's basically what they've got to do to play. Like, look at guys like James Harden. Like, you know what I mean? There's all these superstars, so-called are flopping right and left for calls here and there. So it's like it's the state of the league. It's not one player or another.
Yeah, and I think what we should do is I think you should watch The Last Dance, and then we'll get back together and we'll talk about it.
We'll bring that up
because when you watch that footage and you see Jordan was a skinny guy, but he was just such a competitor. And he could just beat anybody. But all the other players at that time were that size. They weren't like these big guys. And that's when they had, the true center. But I think, I think we could do that for a podcast for another time.
But actually, to move this into the next topic, I don't know about you for basketball, but for me, I grew up an Orlando Magic fan because, as you said, the true center. When Shaq came out, I can't remember how old I was. I was a little kid, but I loved Shaq. Shaq was the man to me. I still love my Orlando Magic jerseys. Like, that is my basketball team.
Did you have the mini penny? The mini penny?
No, I wanted one. I wanted a little penny. Yeah, that was penny. Great. Oh my god, he showed up in the Blackstreet video too. Like, it was just Little Penny was something else. It was like a cultural phenomenon at the time.
Was that Ronnie Cycli? He was a center for them. He was like a big white dude with like long hair, just super rugged.
Yeah.
But I think he was like post Shaq.
Yeah, I think it was right.
I mean,
at
least
Shaq.
Being a Magic fan, you had Shaq and that dream team for that
and then
short period of time.
We made the finals again in 2009, which was nice. Before Dwight Howard completely fell off the map and borderline forgot how to play. Like, he just completely went off the deep end, but whatever. That's another conversation. But yeah, but that was.
I mean, I'm just a lowly Knicks fan, and there's not much to say. I mean,
the
it's
Knicks.
years of disappointment.
The Knicks in the '90s and early 2000s.
My Oakley
we're
shirt
yeah,
right
you
here.
can't go wrong with that. And I was gonna say and what is that? A 300 level?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought so. I knew I recognized the brand. It's a quality shirt right there. Shout to the brand. No, man, the Knicks in the '90s and early 2000s were like that team. You couldn't go wrong rooting for them. They just didn't provide dividends. Like you just wanted to see that end game, them make it to the finals at least once or twice, and they were just
Yeah, we had a
so
good
close.
run against the Rockets, and we had Ewing in his prime, and I was like, Ewing was my guy. That was that was my player. And the great centers. You don't even see guys like that
No, you don't
anymore.
see that at all anymore.
And then when I was really into it, I was obsessed with basketball. Like when I was a kid, I would watch the games. It was bedtime, 8:00. I would go in my room, I'd turn on the radio, and I would listen. I would just listen to the games every night. Wake up the next day, go turn on Sports Center, waiting for the highlights. I think they didn't even have the bottom line at that point. So you actually had to watch.
I remember those days. Yeah, you had to sit there and wait for it to come up.
Yeah, you had to wait for it to pop up, and I would just sit there and be waiting on see if they won or lost. And the '90s were good to me. As the 2000s hit, I mean, the Knicks they've never recovered.
I mean, you guys had Allen Houston for a while though. That was a good time at least.
Yeah, it was. They signed him to that giant contract, and he ended up hurting. He had so many injuries. He hurt his knee, his shoulder. Yeah. And that was kind of he started to fall off. But we had Sprewell for a little while. I mean, the players that came through the Knicks, when I started naming some of them, it blows your mind.
How did nothing happen with some of these?
We had
guys?
Marbury.
Yeah.
I remember the one year they traded their first round pick for Antonio McDyess, and the first preseason game he blew out his knee.
Yeah,
it's just one year after another. And the thing with New York sports, and it goes for the Yankees, the Mets, is there's that urge to win. There's never time for that rebuild.
Right.
The fans are always spend the money. Let's get the players.
Just go right for it.
And I was just begging the Knicks, hey, let's do this rebuild, and they're doing it now. And I don't know how it's going to work out because, you were saying before we started, you get that one player that could turn your team around, but they just haven't had.
I mean, Porzingis, I don't think was necessarily a franchise changer, but he's someone I feel like you guys should have fought to hang on to there. That. Yeah, could have been something.
What we gave up and what we got back is nothing now. And now, we're going to watch Porzingis in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, probably for a while.
And, see what happens. I like Porzingis. I remember the night they drafted him. I was that kid that was in the crowd that night just crying.
Just who is this?
It's why? Why did you pick this guy? And then, he won the fans over. He was just...
No, which is all you can ask for. I mean, honestly, to go back to football, the same thing happened for me with Daniel Jones, where I remember I was on my way to, I didn't watch the draft that year because Avengers Endgame was coming out. So I was I've got to catch Endgame. I can't miss a spoiler for that. There's one coming up for that. And then on the radio, they're and the Giants select. And I'm all right, who do we got? And Daniel Jones, God damn it, turned off the radio, sped to the movie theater. I was mad about it the rest of the night. But, once I saw him play, I was I might have made a mistake here, and it ended up working out for the best. I think he is going to be something pretty special for the Giants. I do think he can move the ball down the field, which is honestly what we need at this point. He's got big shoes to fill, filling in for Eli. That's a New York legend through and through. The guy just exudes class. So
I mean, you're never gonna match Eli. He can only hope to do one. I'll take one Super Bowl from him.
Oh yeah, I'll be. If I have to settle for a Super Bowl,
I mean, it could be worse. We could be we could be a Titans fan and just be struggling.
Fuck you.
Yeah. So imagine going into the season with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill.
So you got into the Magic.
I've seen a Super Bowl this year, fellas.
You got in the Magic with Shaq. I mean, were you? How hard was it for you to stay with the team, or how loyal were you as a follower?
Difficult. There was times where I swayed a little bit, and basketball is one of those sports where I feel like it's okay to do that. I'm very stalwart with most of my teams. Basketball, I feel like, can be a little bit more fluid just because there's so many players that switch teams every couple of years. So for a while, I was definitely rooting for the Nets while they're still in New Jersey. I lived in Michigan for a while, for college. So I was following the Pistons loosely, but the Magic were always the team that helped my heart. It's just for a while I couldn't get them on TV. So I was watching who I could watch, rooting for who I could root for. And then, like I said, they had to resurge the end of like the 2000s, like
Right.
2008, 2009 with Howard.
And who else they had? It was Turkoglu. They had like Howard.
Turkoglu was there for a while.
Yeah.
I just always remember Dwight Howard had that freaking commercial with the dude from The Hangovers. God, I forget his name, but he was Leslie Chan was his name in the movies,
Yeah.
I think. And like he was in these commercials, they were ridiculous and over the top. He had one with Dwight Howard, one with Derrick Rose, and I think that's what was like, oh my God, the Magic are back on the map. Like we're actually a team again. It's like we've got Shaq back, and then just
Hey, look,
kinda blew
I'm there
up.
with you. At least you guys, you got to that final, and I haven't seen a final for 21 years. At this
At
point,
least
so.
you play at the Garden though.
Yeah,
You
I
can't
mean,
really
any
beat
game at the
that.
Garden is fun to go to, easy to get to for us, obviously.
Yeah.
I haven't been to. I'm trying to think the last time I even got to a Knicks game. Oh, I went to one this year, but it's like at the end of the season, I don't know half the guys on the team
Yeah,
at this point
exactly.
because they're
That's
just
what
putting
people out
everybody
there.
in. R.J. Barrett, I'm high on him, but he's kind of he's good at a lot of things, but he doesn't have like that one.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master.
Yeah,
of
he doesn't
none
have that
type.
one specialty. Like he definitely needs to work on his shooting to
Yeah.
improve his game. But I mean, I think he'd be a solid player on the team.
Oh
Do
no,
I think
definitely
he's
for
like
sure. He's gonna.
the game-changing player? No, but
But
you
he's
gotta,
he's a role player. You put him in there, you get a couple other guys around, and then you kind of got some flexibility with what you can do with them. They get one or two more stalwart pieces who can be like, all right, I'm a lockdown forward, I'm a lockdown guard, and then you kind of move Barrett around to wherever you need him. Let him be a little bit more fluid there. I would think there's more room for flexibility. That's what the Knicks are going for.
yeah. I mean, he can defend multiple positions. He can handle the ball. I think sometimes he was bringing the ball up as point guard. So.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm like for just sports in general. I'm a realistic sports fan. I'm not an optimist. I'm not thinking they're going to be great, and I'm not thinking they're the worst thing ever. They're gonna. It's gonna take a while for them,
Yeah,
but
it's gonna-
we'll get there. The hockey for me, I'm a Flyers fan for love.
Hey,
For
nobody's
love.
perfect, man. Nobody's perfect.
My wife is only a Yankees fan, and after the Giants Eagles debacle in our household, where we can't even watch games, or I can't bring up the name. My son,
Yeah.
he'll start rooting for the Giants. He gets grounded after that. So
I mean, you gotta shoot him some like Rice Krispie
So-
treats or something. Be like,
So
"Good
I made
job,
an
good
agreement
job."
that I'd be a Flyers fan. Out of all the sports, I probably follow it the least. I try to go to a game or two a year. I have family in Philadelphia,
Okay.
so it gives me a bond with them because they're
Yeah.
all like Phillies, Eagles, everything.
Which you can't argue with. I mean, the one thing I will give Philadelphia sports teams is that all their teams are kind of in that same complex.
Right.
Makes it a little easier. It's like, all right, I know where I'm going exactly. I personally am a Devils fan. I'm not, similar to you, I'm not the biggest hockey fan in the world, but damn, do I have fun at those games. I went to one this year. We went to the beer garden across beforehand in Newark, got rocked, went to the game, had a great time, and then went to Hoboken after. And just the whole experience of going to a game, I think it's just so much easier for hockey overall. Because you don't have to worry about going into the city. You have to worry about getting to the Meadowlands. You kind of, for our area, you hop on the train, you get off in Newark, you party hard, you watch the game, you cheer hard, and then you do what you're going to do after. You can have a whole day and be done by 8 o'clock. And there's not too many other sports you can do that with.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I'm not I respect the diehards because I know they're out there, but it's more about the experience. Like I went to the Flyers game this year. This nice guy got me great tickets behind the penalty box.
That's awesome.
Cameron James, but it was it's about the experience. We had a good time. I wasn't invested in the win or the loss. We went, we had fun.
Right.
It's
about the
and
it's
you
about the
know you can
experience.
enjoy it. Where like other sports, like if I went to a Notre Dame game, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat.
Oh, no, yeah,
like,
you're sitting there yelling at
please.
everyone. You're like, get up and
I didn't
get the
drive.
ball.
I didn't drive 12 hours to see you guys lose. Like,
Yeah.
come on. But yeah, I'm a casual fan. I guess in an episode or two we could talk about the NHL restart. It
So
should
be
be
nice,
interesting. I
yeah.
think it's a cool idea. Just going straight to playoffs with all those teams.
It honestly really is. Like, it just makes so much more sense. And I feel like people are going to be automatically invested in that because it's not meaningless games. Like, people have waited months and months and months for these sports to come back. So it's like, just give them what counts. Give them just prime time games, of basically just the playoffs straight through. That's let everyone enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, they say there's nothing better than playoff hockey, which is true. Like,
Definitely
it's hard to
is.
watch some regular season games. Like, if I see them on, like, I'll turn it on. But when the playoffs are on, it's like another level, especially in the Northeast. Just the rivalries that you get to see, and just the intensity of the fans.
And honestly, I think hockey players, like if you're going to go pound for pound with any other sport, they might be playing the hardest the whole time. To have that much gear on you, to be skating across the ice, top speed, like 30 seconds, you're going to be wiped out. I don't care how in shape you are. Like, that's nuts. A half a minute's going to completely drain you, and these guys are going balls to the walls for like well over an hour. It's crazy the amount of effort they really put in there. And then on top of that, there's fights. Like, you can legitimately get into a fight in the middle of the game. It's awesome. It really is. Like, playoff hockey really is something else, and like it's going to be nice to have it back.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know if they released dates for that? I think they're still working out some stuff.
That I'm not sure. I think it's still getting ironed out. Like, I'm sure we're going to see probably most of the big four back, with the exception of football, obviously, probably by July. Like I said, my bold predictions, MLB for 4th of July. I just feel like there's something very American about that they're going to push for. But as for the others, I think they're going to be back mid-July, late July.
I mean, it's going to be crazy. At one point, we'll have every major sport playing at the same time.
Yeah, which normally happens in October? Like, we'll actually have that for a couple months, which will be, I mean, it's going to be great for bars,
Right.
Once they're open again.
Yeah, I mean, just even to be able to, like, turn on a sport other than, like, the 1998 Knicks game versus whoever.
The gymnastics national championships.
Right,
like, it'll be something
nice
like, I know who these guys are.
You'll have too many options. It'll actually, I won't even know what to watch.
Which is a problem I would love to. I'm sure you're going to love to have that problem too,
Yeah, good problem.
Picture is going to make a comeback. I'll have like the hockey game in the bottom, the baseball game on top, switch it off on commercials.
Yeah, I gotta invest in another TV, I think, and just get like the ultimate setup. I'm also a Liverpool fan. It's kind of like a new thing that I've trying to get into. I wanted to get into soccer. I have some family ties to. I had a cousin that played professional soccer, and I was researching like what team I should root for, because I've tried to root for teams in the past, and like you just don't have that that emotional connection.
Yeah, you got to find the team that really resonates with you and that you want to root for the whole time.
And and so I was gonna be like, I'm gonna try, and there's nothing else that conflicts with the time it's on. It's on Saturday, Sunday mornings.
Oh yeah, you really can't
during the
do
football season, it's great. You have a game on in the morning, and then the football starts by 12. You're good to go.
It's your little warm up.
So I end up picking Liverpool because they haven't won a title in a while. Like, it's been a long time. They're always competitive, but I didn't want to be like, I'm going to be a Man City fan because it's like picking the best team.
Exactly. It's like starting with the for all intents and purposes, the Yankees.
So, of course, I picked Liverpool, and they're just crushing it this year. So, I don't know if I knew something, but...
little birdie told you.
Yeah, the manager of the team, he's, like, super enthusiastic. Klopp, he has, like, this unique look with his glasses. He pumps the crowd up. They have some great top players from, they have Mohamed Salah from Egypt and Sadio Mane from Africa, and... They just have like a good group of players that like I've gotten invested in, and like
which is awesome.
And they start winning, and I'm watching every game, and I'm like starting to you're starting to get nervous.
You get the little butterflies in there. You're like, oh my god! Like,
I signed myself up for for updates on my phone, so I know what's going on. And then like I see they're like tied in the 90th minute, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go watch the game.
I gotta find the TV.
I knew I was hooked. And then they ended up playing against they had a friendly match. They played at Yankee Stadium.
That's awesome.
And I went, and soccer fans are
they're
another
nuts.
level.
Yeah, but it's the good kind of nuts, where they're just all kinds of pumped up. People painting their faces, slamming beers right and left, it's
chanting
great.
the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had the opportunity to go to some games, and even like the smaller teams, like go to the MLS. If you go to like a Red Bulls game, the fans are into it.
Oh
like,
yeah,
there's a
very much
specific group, and obviously it's the most popular sport in the world. It's catching on here, definitely. I definitely see more people that have Premier League following. They have the deal with NBC, so all their games are broadcast. Yeah. So it's easier to follow for Americans now, and they have all the top players in that league, so it's easy to watch. Like if you're watching the World Cup, you see all those players in this one league playing for the most part.
Yeah.
Soccer's coming back pretty soon. no fans in the stadium. For soccer, I think that's going to be huge because they have a huge home field advantage with that.
Yeah, I think it's going to factor in for every sport, though. I don't think a lot of sports are really going to have the full, dedication of fans that they normally do. We're not going to see packed stadiums like we used to. As much as people want to be there, I just don't see it being a thing. But that being said, the TV viewership should skyrocket. People are going to be so desperate just to have something back to watch that I think we're going to see a very unique change. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of new app or something that popped up, just to really support the full-on fan service to really take full advantage of what's going on with sports right now.
Yeah, you think as like a player though, like when you're playing in like an empty stadium and there's no sound, I mean, do you think that's going to obviously affect the players a little bit?
Well, like imagine being like a college football fan. College football player, and you go out your freshman year to an empty stadium. Like,
right.
Because most of these guys are high school studs.
Right.
You go out and you play and there's nobody out there. Like, that's definitely going to kind of fuck with you mentally. Like, you're not going to be able to really, you know what I mean? You can't fully grasp, I feel like, the whole situation. It's just kind of mind-blowing. So I think that's a little mental hurdle that all these players are going to have to overcome at some point.
Yeah, and I think, I get that could bring us into, the return of the NBA. I mean, they're playing in one site down in Orlando at Disney. I'm happy it's coming back. It has kind of like the summer league vibes for me though.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even picturing them playing in like their regular uniforms.
They're gonna have something different. They always do. The NBA is nice like that. We're gonna buy new hats and jerseys just because we're like, oh my god, there's something new happening. I'm personally very excited because I think LeBron was going off before the season ended. I would, as big of a Magic fan as I am, I wouldn't be mad if he just kind of ran away with it, especially after, The Last Dance came out. I would love to see him just dominate, play his ass off through the playoffs after this break, let's call it, for lack of a better word, and just watch him just explode and just destroy the competition. I would love to see something like that, but I also think there's so much competition coming out of the East for once. Giannis is a stud in his own right. Like, there's so many guys that we can see actually compete, and the talent's actually spread around for once, that this could be a really interesting playoff series once it actually is back.
Yeah, I mean, July 31st, they're coming back. I believe they get down there around like July 7th or so. They'll have a camp. One of the things I'm interested in seeing are these guys coming back in shape. Have they been working out with their, is that going to affect the outcome? Because they're only going to play the eight regular season games.
Yeah.
And that's primarily, to figure out the seeding and I guess to kind of get a feel for like how they're going to run these games. But there's a lot of variables that could affect the outcome of this whole entire thing, and it brings me back to the 1999 season with my Knicks. It was a lockout season, a shortened season. They played I don't even know how many games, but it was like super, super short, and the Knicks were the 8th seed. Maybe they weren't talent-wise an 8th seed, but they end up making that run and going to the finals. They lose, but I think you could see something happen like that. Do you think that someone could make a run?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, with the way the talent's spread out now, and just like you said, which teams are in shape, which teams aren't. You could have that guy that's like, no, I'm going to stay on my couch, I'll get back in shape, not taking it seriously. Whereas opposed to maybe there's unorganized workouts going on where it's like, hey, here's your workout to do at home. Most of these guys, I'm sure, have gyms in their homes or complexes, wherever they are. If they're all staying in shape, that's a huge advantage coming off of 3 months off. Team chemistry is also going to play a pretty big role at that point. If you're new to a team, you're obviously not going to have the same kind of chemistry of guys that have played together for 2 or 3 years or even more.
Right.
So I think things like that are going to be major factors, as we move forward with this league. But I'm just so excited to have it back.
Yeah, and I guess, they went with the 22 teams, so they basically have the 9 teams in the East. They have the 13 teams in the West that are still vying for seeding. I guess the West can move around pretty much a lot, and the East, I think, your Magic are in 8th. The 8th seed.
I'm happy to see it for once.
The Wizards, I believe they're like 6 games back. So, I mean, they really need the ball.
They'd have to go off, yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to go off, and the Magic would have to blow it.
Yeah.
But I'll make a proclamation right now. I will be a Magic fan for the rest of this season.
Hey, let's go.
You have to root for the Knicks to get the number one pick.
No,
though.
100%. I'll root for the Knicks to get the number one pick. If you root for the Magic, I'll take all the energy we can get for the Magic. I'll root for the Knicks to get the number one all day. Who do you want at number one for the Knicks, though?
There's not that one guy this year.
It's not like last year
There's
with
like
Zion.
8 players that I've heard their names got dropped around. I mean, the biggest name out there from, popularity standpoint is, LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
They say he would be the best fit for the Knicks. He's a big point guard, 6'8". He can do a little bit of everything. The Knicks keep bringing in point guards. They've had Dennis Smith Jr., obviously in the Porzingis trade. They've had Moutier. They've had, they have Frank. I'm not going to butcher the last name, even though I'm a Knicks fan.
It's tough sometimes.
But they've talked about drafting a point guard every year, and they just don't find the guy. So I think there's like 3 top point guards that are coming out. I don't really care who they pick. They need help everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you could slide R.J. Barrett to the shooting guard or small forward. So, they don't really need a center. So, I mean, they just need they need help.
Yeah, right.
anybody they could get. If you can play basketball, we'll take it.
Yeah, it's like you got to do what you got to do at some point.
But the playoffs are going to run till like October. Like if a game 7, I believe it's October 14th. And then they're going to have to flip around the season. They're talking about starting the next season December 1st.
But just very short break, especially if that goes to 7 games. Like, that's going to suck for whoever wins.
Right. Do you think, it's still a month and a half, and they've had this big break. I mean, do you think the team that wins, like if it does go to like a Game 7 NBA Finals, do you think that's going to have like repercussions for the following season following up?
Yeah, I think they'll probably start a little bit slower. I mean, I think you see that a lot. Like, to bring him up again, look at LeBron. Like, the guy went to, I forget if it was 8 or 9 straight finals. And, like, that takes a toll on you at some point. You're playing so much later into the season. Even if you don't win, you're playing so much longer. And then you got to, start again a few months later. I think inevitably that takes a toll on your body. So it might just be more of a slow start than, a stagnant push, throughout the season.
Right.
But I think we'll see a lot of those teams just kind of have that slow pickup before they really get going, which honestly in some ways could almost be an advantage. If you got the team that got knocked out early, like say I don't even know. I can't even think of a good example. Any team that gets knocked out early from the playoffs, that they're just at home, they can just get in shape, they can work out together, kind of get their chemistry down. They could start off hot and then cool off as one of the later teams picks it back up again.
Right, and that's why I think this NBA, similar to 1999, LeBron could be he still has to face Kawhi and Paul George,
and Kawhi's
Clippers.
terrifying.
Yeah,
like
he is
Kawhi
terrifying.
is really just the Terminator out there.
And that guy, he doesn't need the crowd. He doesn't care about any.
Yeah,
of
he doesn't care about
fame or
anything.
any
It's
of
like
that stuff.
he's so calm, which is something that like I almost envy. You see a lot of these guys, they need that crowd. They need to get pumped up, and Kawhi's just like, yeah, I'm out here, I'm shooting. Oh, I scored. Oh, I won. Okay, cool. Like he's just very matter of fact about it.
I mean, we've talked about LeBron, but then you look at the Lakers; they have Anthony Davis too. I mean, like that's. I could think it go a couple ways. Either like you have like a crazy surprise team like the Knicks in '99, or you have just the best players just dominate. Like they're LeBron and Anthony Davis just dominate and they take it all the way. Do you think if LeBron wins this title though, people are going to be? I know there's LeBron haters out there because when you win a lot and
Oh yeah, people want to.
People are always trying to knock you off your pedestal. Do you think they're going to be like, well, he won it, but it wasn't the same as other titles?
People, I think, are going to talk. To be 100% frank, I think people are going to talk shit no matter what.
Right.
It's not going to matter what happens. If he gets to the finals and loses, he's a terrible player. If he gets to the finals and wins, he didn't deserve it.
Right.
I think it's going to be no matter what, he's going to suffer from that. But I think one of the things that's so great about LeBron is that he kind of transcends all of that. He kind of puts most of that aside. He's like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to play my game. And then he does terrific things off the court. Like he's built schools, he's sent kids to college.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't understand how people can hate this guy. Like, I really just don't get it.
It for me, like for LeBron, it's like similar to Tom, and it's similar to like Tom Brady. It's just like at some point you have to respect the guy.
Exactly. And Tom Brady, I will say, went to probably the greatest college in the history of college football. He's a Michigan Wolverine. That's got to say something.
I mean, I can't argue that he's the greatest quarterback, but the greatest college I don't know about.
Well, the one thing I will say, if LeBron had gone to college, he would have gone to Ohio State, and I would have had a completely different stance on him simply for that. I won't even deny that my bias runs
Hey,
that
but
deep.
that's what it's about, though. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
well, it's
if
like,
he's on Ohio State, you have that
I
hate
hate him no matter what.
But then it's like if he gets drafted to
To the Magic, then
you know,
I'm like, oh.
he's
what
on
do I do?
Ohio State, and then he gets drafted to the Magic. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, what do? You gotta
Exactly,
you're like, oh,
it's true.
everything I said about you before doesn't matter.
It's like
We're
yeah,
friends now.
yeah. And I'm like, damn it.
How do you think we have the December 1st for next season? Do you think that like us going through this whole process of changing the schedule around, having the delay, do you think it's going to make the NBA shift anything as far as like their scheduling going? Because I know I heard.
I'd be curious to see that. Sorry,
Yeah,
didn't mean to cut you off.
I know. I heard they were talking about maybe starting the season in December anyway. Like that, it's a better time for them to start for whatever reason,
Yeah.
whether it be with TV or competition of other sports. You know, you're not jumping into the middle of football season and having that as competition. You're only there for, if you start in December, they're only around for another month regular
Right.
season. So you're kind of like capturing all the
And then
the
you just
airtime.
time around the
Do you
Super
think
Bowl. all
you think
that.
anything will switch because of stuff
I
they do?
think coronavirus is going to play a role in that, just especially because we're supposed to get a second wave of it. You know, it's supposed to die down for summer and like kind of pick back up every year like the flu. And since there's not a vaccine yet, I can definitely see it being an issue where they are probably going to have to take precautions, change the time when the league starts, and keep the players kind of separated. You know, from the fans. I mean, where it's just they're definitely going to have to change some things. December does kind of make sense as a start date. It really definitely does. But if that's also if flu/corona season picks up in January, I'm curious how that would impact it. Like if the doctors are saying it's going to pick back up here, if they would still start it at the same time or just wait a month or two.
Yeah, they're saying, I guess, and I was like, I've been interested in like, hey, what happens if, you know, they start playing and someone does test positive? Like, what is their protocol? And apparently they're gonna, if someone tests positive, they get removed from that vicinity, you know, they get quarantined, and they're not gonna stop the league. They're gonna keep it going. I guess they're just gonna keep testing everybody and just double
But
checking.
what if, like, the thing I have questions with that about is, like, what if, like, one person gets it, and obviously this thing spreads crazy quickly,
Right.
and it goes to the rest of the team, like, that team's just out of the playoffs? Do you delay the whole league? Like, how does that
I don't
work?
know. I don't even know if they have an answer for that. I'm sure they have a protocol, but they're, you know, for as far as like being positive and like, hey, the NBA's back. I don't think they're gonna like even tell you what their protocol is. They definitely have to have something. You know, at this point in this day and age now, you know, I've gone through it with like schools and, you know, restaurants, and no one experienced this before, but now there's gonna have to be like, you know, documentation on, hey, if
there's
this
gotta
happens
be
again,
something happening.
here's what we do. But yeah, apparently they're going to just remove that player, you know, and then everyone's going to get tested. My question with that is like, if, you know, and you hear so much about this virus and what's true and what's not true, and like the symptoms show up 2 weeks later, is that going to affect the players in any sense? Like if someone tests positive 2 weeks later, is someone else, like you said, are they going to remove a team? You know, is there like some crazy plan where they're just going to declare a champion if they have to shut things down?
Yeah, like imagine they get down to like 8 teams left in the playoffs, 7 teams get infected,
and
you're just
Magic, Orlando Magic's the only team left.
I mean, well, and you know what? We would wear that burden. We'd hold that crown with all due pride and respect that we could. But I mean, I wouldn't be mad, like I'm saying. But yeah, they really do have to have some kind of protocol or something in place. Like you said, I'm really hoping they have some kind of idea, even if they're not sharing it with us, of a contingency of some sort if that occurs.
Right. I mean, they definitely have to, and you know, I guess, you know, I hope nothing like that occurs.
Yeah,
and,
hands
you know,
down,
whatever they have in
knock on
place
wood.
right now. You know, I think it'll be fine. It's been enough time. They have enough planning. They're going through experts. They have enough, you know, money and resources to figure out something that will work for them. And
Yeah.
you know, I know the Trailblazers who were in the playoffs. I know they were reported to be the one team that voted against 22 teams going down there. Now they're the 8th seed in the West.
Yeah.
So
they're obviously
they
going to play. Like
They're fighting for a spot. Did they vote against it because they don't, for safety reasons, because they don't want that many teams, or did they vote against it so they have less competition?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I guess. I guess we'll go to my Knicks for a reason. They have a pretty good chance. They're probably going to be mid lottery. I don't like I'm not a big fan of the lottery system. Basically because it screwed the Knicks over
Yeah,
too many times.
A lot of fans pulling for Zion last year. It's too much to gamble on. You know, is really what it comes down to.
What would you think is the best system? I mean, the NFL uses the worst team, but when you're only playing the 16 games, it's kind of hard to
say that. I mean, I think the NFL has a good way of going about it. I think the only reason they kind of can't do that with the NBA is because teams could realistically say like last year, like, okay, Zion's coming out, let's tank, guarantee we're getting Zion, lose every game, and then come back next year, everyone plays their ass off, and then you guys are in the playoffs. It's a little bit tougher because basketball, that one player can change the entire thing. Like, look at LeBron with the Cavaliers when he first came out. So it's definitely a tough call. I do think some changes need to be made there. I just unfortunately am not qualified enough to say what they should be because like they have to do something. Like the lottery is not the answer, but it maybe should be a factor. Maybe it's if the bottom like 5 teams have a lottery, and then there's they fall in.
Well, they definitely made changes to it because like before it was like the worst team had the best percentage to get the top pick, and now it's like the bottom 3 are kind of equal.
Yeah.
And then there's always that time where like that team that has a 2% chance jumps and they make it in the top 3.
Yeah, they get something. You just gotta
and
like,
usually
come
like
on.
the Knicks are in the top 3, and then like so
Down to 5.
the Bulls jumped them, and they ended up like drafting Derrick Rose that one year.
Yeah.
So I don't have the answer either. But I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of the lottery.
I'm with you. Like something there just doesn't feel right about it. You know what I mean? Which might sound a little lax, but it's just I just need something to click there. It's something that's just like, okay, this makes perfect sense to me. We can kind of predict where the season's going to go, who's going to fall where. And it's just not quite the case right now with the way they have the lottery. And so I would like to see some changes there.
I guess what are your predictions for this finals? What do you want to see, and what do you think is going to happen?
I want to see, and I think we're going to see the Lakers win. I think they're on a hot streak to finish out the season. I don't think too many players have a better work ethic or, team leader dynamic than LeBron James. I really think he's going to make that push. I really, really do. I would love to see Lakers against the Bucks for the finals. Like, that would be my dream scenario.
Giannis, LeBron.
Oh, my God. It would be nuts. I don't know how likely that is, but it would be really cool to see.
Dream scenario is Magic run the table.
Obviously, dream say but I'm not going to get ahead of myself here because I want to gamble on that and not have everybody else put money on it too. I'm going to go to the racetrack after this and just put all my money on the Magic and just hope for the best. Yeah, that's obviously the dream, but I think it's more realistic that the Lakers kind of take it.
Yeah, it's hard to vote against LeBron.
I mean, he's there every year.
Yeah, he's there. He's so consistent. But, you do have Kawhi in the West. They have a pretty solid squad. Paul George is there. So, he's a good 1A. That's a good 1A, 1B combination. I would like to see the Clippers versus the Raptors, just for the simple fact.
That would be pretty cool.
You have Kawhi's new team versus Kawhi's old team. The Raptors are a scrappy team. They're actually a team. They play as a team. They remind me of like the old Pistons teams that just played hardcore defense.
Yeah, just ridiculous, like scary to go up against. I mean, you can never, when you're talking about the West, I feel like you can never count the Spurs out as long as Pop is coaching them. Like the Spurs are one of those teams that are just like, oh yeah, the Spurs. Like you know what I mean? They're just like that sneaky, like, and they shouldn't even be sneaky. They're just a good overall team, just very well coached.
Yeah,
play great fundamental ball. That you can never really fully count them out.
I mean, arguably the Spurs could be considered one of the best sports franchises just for how they're run.
Oh yeah,
their consistency every year. I mean, they have obviously since Duncan's retired and Parker was older and Ginobili. Yeah. They lost that core, but they're a great franchise and they have a tough road though to make it in.
Very true.
So,
but I mean, it's just with like I said,
and if you make
Pop,
it in, you're playing
out.
LeBron.
Very
So
true.
like I said, Kawhi versus the Raptors would be cool. Giannis versus LeBron, I'd love to see that too.
I would love to. Oh man,
I don't think you can go wrong, but I do throw the quarantine, the delay. there could be a dark horse team that makes it in.
Oh, very much. Which would be
And-
awesome to watch. Like,
Right.
imagine that one team just slips in and really starts to run the table. Like, it'd be almost like March Madness. You know, because we completely missed out on that this year. It would be great to have something kind of similar where it's like, oh my God, these guys are just running the table, just doing everything they have to, just leaving it all on the court. I would love to see something like that out of any one of these teams up there.
Yeah. I mean, that's it pretty much for me. I mean, like I said, NBA is coming up soon. I think we're going to work on some good material for some future episodes. I definitely want to do a Kobe episode.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely want to
go in
do,
on
you
that.
know,
I
and
mean,
we
it's
could
like-
throw some LeBron in there because
Yeah.
he's a big influence.
Oh no, 100%. But I mean, you can't talk about Kobe without talking about what a tragedy it really is to have lost him so early.
Yeah.
You know, it's just fuck 2020, man.
Yeah,
like,
man. That- I mean, and I'll leave it at the Kobe. I'll save for the episode, but like that was the first person that like had passed away that I didn't never met that actually like affected me.
I totally
personally.
get that. And you know, it's weird, but I think there's only been 2 NBA MVPs that have passed away like ever.
Really?
Which is like absolutely. Don't quote me on that. I think it's 2. It might be 3. But like of all the years of the NBA, only 2 of the MVPs have actually been deceased. And we'll fact check my numbers on the next show.
We'll go to our fact checker.
But
over there.
it's just remarkable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a freak accident. It's a terrible tragedy, but his legacy on the game, you really can't go understated. Like, he was the Mamba.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even just like his impact with his daughter in women's basketball, is
You had
it's-
3.
It's going to be a big loss.
Okay, three passed away?
Yeah, Chamberlain, I guess, was one of them.
Yeah, he probably died of too much
Will
sex.
Chamberlain in 99, Moses Malone in 2015.
And then Kobe
That's
this
a good,
year.
hey, that's a good
Yeah.
stat. That's a good stat ball there.
I know I was pretty close. I knew I was close. I thought it was 2.
We
but
might
yeah.
have to another episode on do definitely talk about fantasy, and we might have to go over the stat
Oh,
checker
yeah.
again to see how many championships I have. But I'm a big time fantasy player.
Oh, same
I
here.
have a good a history in fantasy since I was like 4 years old.
Yeah, I have some theories for this fantasy season that I'm hoping too many people in my league aren't listening to because I really don't.
Well,
need
that's
them
the
to
other
know
thing.
that.
I don't really want to talk strategy. I don't know if like I don't we're sitting with the enemy over there. I don't
Fair
want to
enough.
give my tips away. 'Cause-
I lose every year.
I mean, it's also a good chance to give some false information. So we'll see.
Right,
Maybe
maybe
we'll
we
put
should
everything
do
with
that.
a grain of salt.
We'll have to compare notes and then decide what we want to share.
Or we can talk about past strategies too.
Yeah.
If anyone has any comments, suggestions on things they'd like to see, we more than invite you to leave them in the comments. Definitely let us know what you'd like us to discuss, and we'll be more than happy to share it.
Yeah, so I would just like to thank everyone for watching and listening. You can find us on Instagram at Why Am I a Nerd Official. You can look for us on Facebook as Why Am I a Nerd. My name's Sean. This is
And
Matt.
I'm Matt. Pleasure.
And yeah,
as
it's been a
always.
pleasure. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Next time on 4th and 1.